There's an incident on 40 eastbound that we ran into, but someone might be caught dead, I don't know.
Thank you for letting me know.
Okay, we'll give it a couple more.
Orange County.
But like,
We couldn't tell what was
just
just.
135.
Eastbound.
Have a car with smashed windshield.
We'll wait for a minute while traffic clears out. There's a crash on 40. Maybe some people are caught up in that.
Where was the crash on 40?
Just before South Point.
Good. Welcome everyone to the April 7th Technical Committee meeting. We'll start with a roll call down here.
Moderator Nolan, Triangle West TPO.
Becca Joan Eversole, Town of Carborough.
Curtis Carpinato, Durham County.
Sarah Williamson, Orange County.
Doug Plachinsky, Triangle West.
Eric Mattel, City.
Ella Tuckman, Durham County.
Ben Brosheimer, Town of Chapel.
Bergen Watterson, Town of Chapel Hill.
Lindsay Smart, City of Durham.
Aaron Kane, Durham Planning.
Stephanie Jubla, Town of Hillsborough.
David Kielsen, NCDOT Division 5.
Yin Jong, Triangle West.
Tasha Johnson, City of Durham. David Miller, Triangle West.
Thanks. Any adjustments to the agenda today?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Anyone signed up for public comment or online? Wonderful. We'll move on to report from TPO staff. Doug.
I do not have anything at the moment to add to the written report.
Okay, thanks. Report from the committee chair. I guess I'll just share that, so I'm affiliated, I'm on the leadership team for a statewide organization, Association of Pedestrian and Bicycle Professionals, APBP, and we've been hosting monthly, like in-person webinars around the Triangle area. So I can send that information out for the April one if y'all are interested in attending a webinar. We usually have food and stuff, so yeah, I just wanted to share that.
Get food and at a webinar.
Yeah, it's usually like a lunch type of webinar.
So are you hosting people to come and watch?
Yeah.
Or? Okay.
Like a webinar Zoom party.
Okay. Where is this at? Durham City Hall?
This one's expected to be, I think the next one's gonna be in Durham at Alta's office.
Okay. Good. If you get some that they can send out.
Yeah. Thanks. NCDOT report, Division 5.
We have a new deputy division engineer, Mark Craig, who was most recently our construction engineer, but he's got over 30 years of experience. So expect you'll be seeing him at in the future.
Mark what?
Mark Craig.
Oh, Craig. Thanks. Division 7. Oh.
Sorry, I'm stuck in the traffic. Nothing addition to report, other than updates report. Take any questions.
Thanks. Division 8.
Hey, good afternoon. Yeah, no updates for Division 8, but be glad to answer any questions if you have any.
Okay, thank you. Transportation Planning Division.
Hi, I have one update. There's a freight plan update going on right now. NCDOT is currently working with the consultant firm WSP to update this statewide multimodal freight plan. During March, we held stakeholder engagement meetings in Durham, Charlotte, Asheville, and Wilmington. And in April, there will be freight forums held across the state to connect with industries. April 22nd, there'll be a forum at the Campo office. April 23rd, there will be one in Wilmington, 28th in Charlotte, and then the 29th in Asheville. And those forums are an opportunity to engage with a broad range of industry leaders ranging from large to small firms, and they are designed to proactively facilitate open and meaningful dialogue. And it will be an opportunity for attendees to learn about the current conditions of North Carolina's multimodal network and to share input as we plan for the future. And there's also a survey for truck drivers active through April 17th. And I can send this information out, but Pam Cook with NCDOT would be our contact. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I think it'd be good. It'd be good that information could be sent out. Thanks. Anyone on from IMD? All of that. That brings us to the consent agenda. On the consent agenda, we have approval of meeting minutes from March 10th, fiscal year 2027, UPWB amendment number 2, and TIP accelerated amendment number 4. Any questions, comments, or concerns about consent agenda items? Hearing none, looking for a motion.
So moved.
Moved by Becca,
Second.
second by Aaron, all in favor.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Brings us to action items, memorandum of understanding. The floor is yours, Doug.
Me, all. Thank you. Well, and thank you to everyone that was able to come to our our TC subcommittee to talk about the MOU. We had a pretty good discussion. Provided some updates on the memorandum of understanding memo that has gone out, and then also we called out some of the things in the markup text that are changed. So how would you like me to go through this, Mr. Chair? Would you like just me to go through the memo and talk about things that come up?
I would say just, since this item has already been around, I would say just hit on the items that changed since the TC subcommittee, I would say.
Okay. Well, what we talked about at the TC subcommittee for the transit providers group was to establish it as a subcommittee of the TC and include the transit operators. Also that we should meet quarterly to start, and then we'll go more or less as needed. So, anybody have any questions about that?
So the goals of the committee include, things related to the NTP and TIP. And I feel like during our conversation, that was our subcommittee conversation, we were kind of leaning towards those things being still kind of the role of discussed it in this group at the TC because they involve, more than just the transit operators and relate to other bigger transportation goals and other plans that other entities and stuff might be doing. And the fact that, meeting quarterly, we have TIP amendments like every month. Many of them relate to transit. That the subcommittee would be, I guess, more focused on the operations and like coordination of the operations than the kind of higher level planning and funding issues. So I guess in the MOU, it's listed as that being a charge of the committee. And I guess that's my question is if that's going to be the charge of the committee, then I think the committee should include more than just the operators. But if it's going to be more on operations, then it's probably fine for just to be the operators. So I guess what are you thinking? What are you recommending with that?
Well, the subcommittee agreed on operators and court. I'm more than happy to put the goals of that committee may include instead of this, because ultimately that subcommittee will set its agendas and figure out the working relationship of the TC.
Yeah, I think leaving it more open-ended would be good and kind of let that subcommittee shape and form as it begins to meet.
I mean, we could have the 5307 funding discussion here at this committee. Page matches probably suited more for the operations of the 5307 funds. Do you think that resolves your comment?
So to say that it may include these things instead of like, what exactly does it say? It says responsibilities. So tweaking the language. That's what.
Because it doesn't mean that they can't talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to just change the language to make it more open-ended. Would that be good for you?
Yeah, I mean, so Durham County's not on this list right now. Are you open to Durham County being a member of this list? We don't operate, a system ourselves, but we are financially responsible for a portion of the trips that are coordinated with the city's Go Durham access system, including things like money, the funding decisions do affect like Durham County funding responsibilities then. So we're just kind of like a special case because we don't operate it directly, but we are financially responsible. So that's the heart of my concern is that if the committee is going to start to talk about money and funding things, it may affect Durham County. And you may want to be involved.
You would still be involved even if you're not on that subcommittee when anything that they about came before this body.
Right.
And you're certainly still attending subcommittee.
Okay.
That way, if we're not talking about anything financial.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, certainly, there's some things that I don't think Durham County needs to be involved in. It's just, right now, the way it's written. You're gonna have a sidewalk committee.
I feel like that's a good compromise. Again, it's really going to be up to this committee to decide what they'd like to talk about and what resources they'd like to engage with. It may be that we have experts come in or something else, or we're sharing things with other transit operators across the state. I don't know what that will think of. Jenny, you'd say
else on the TOSC from anyone?
I mean, would you be willing to just add Durham County? We are a transit service sponsor, I would say, because of our funding responsibility.
That is up to your peers. I will follow their direction.
And I guess, you know, we are the only county not on this list. It's Orange County Public Transit and Chatham Connect are on.
Well, I mean, the Chatham Connect is a nonprofit.
I think if we get into that, then we would need to talk about if Orange County needs to have more than one vote and more than one representative, because we have dual responsibilities, and I don't think we want to get into figuring all of those types of things out, because it's going to get considerably more complicated quite quickly.
Other thoughts on this? Should we take a vote or?
I think we should keep it to the 4 service providers. Right, 5 service providers. Durham County is always welcome to join us.
Yeah, there's currently 6 listed.
6,
Just to be
excuse me.
clear, it's Go Durham, Go Triangle, Chapel Transit, Orange County Public Transit, Chatham Connect, and US University Transit.
I think we keep it, but you're welcome to join us. And if there's funding considerations, we coordinate with you.
Yeah, maybe we start out that way. We can always go back and change it later if we desire to. Maybe we start out this way.
Could you then, I mean, this is an MOU. We don't update this very often. So if it's written in a way that a member could be added later, that doesn't require a whole MOU update.
Something that TPO can write in a way that allows easy addition of a member in the future if desired.
A regular meeting schedule and members appointed by the membership.
What's that, Doug?
It's members appointed by the membership, so certainly the TC outside of the membership. To appoint members.
Without having to go through a whole MOU revision.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, it can be changed pretty easily then in the future.
Where does it say that?
Under government.
By the membership of the TC, not the membership of the, not the membership listed above. Could you clarify that, I guess? It could be written more clearly.
And to be clear, this new transit committee, anything it recommends would go back to the TC before going to the board anyway? Okay.
Okay, the next thing was the membership representatives on the TC. We had some input on that. think I changed everything back to what was asked for. If there's anything different, please let me know.
What was the final number for the city of Durham TC?
What page is that on?
It starts on 10.
It's the bottom of page 10.
Can we go back to 4 for the city of Durham?
I mean, you were at 5. Go to 4.
Yeah, please.
All right. Anyone else?
You update Orange County to 2.
I'm trying to open this right now. Is Carver 1 or 2?
You have 2.
2. Okay, that's, yeah, okay.
All right. And I think the last big thing, really save it up. Our ideas to talk about is voting representation on the MPO board when anybody votes call. So in the memo, I sent you 4 options. So the first one is keep the method as currently written. Second method would be a city of Durham dominant method that would just go straight to the percentages. City of Durham having 56% of the population would always be required to vote in the majority for a vote there. Or to not sign. We could also have it so the supermajority approval always require the city of Durham and any number of additional people, which is set the percentage by adding the lowest percent additional member on the population percentage. So, you know, for example, we could just make it +1. And that would always mean that somebody else had to decide that the city of Durham. And the last option is establishing a method under Penrose square root law. This is an established voting system in a lot of large organizations that have huge difference in sizes and resources from measuring numbers. The EU uses a form of it, the United Nations uses a form of it. And it essentially flattens out voting to make it more equalized across the different members. I've included a table of what that would look like here. And then I had a conversation with Transportation Planning Division and got their input as well. So that is an option, and that would require entities from the group. And the city of Durham does not have a supermajority on it.
Quick question on the Penrose method. I've never seen this and I really like it.
I never Googled it.
I've never heard of it. I really like it. Where did you come up with the population numbers for the Board of Transportation and Go Triangle?
So with it, Go Triangle contributes 7%. And
Oh, in terms of financial.
right, because they don't have population.
Right. Okay.
And in talking with TPD, they felt that 9% being just above Scarborough and Chatham County is the 2 smallest numbers. The 2 next. well, not including Hillsborough, is a good sweet spot for the board of representatives, so the state board of transportation representative to set out. So the numbers on the left are the square, or the numbers that the square roots of are needed to equal a percentage.
Okay. Are there thoughts from Carrboro, Chatham County, Hillsborough on where CDOT falls here?
I'd like to also say that it was, sorry, that it was due to our conversation also about looking at how much percentage the Board of Transportation gets in with other MPOs that are like similar size or larger. So is within the range. Others good.
So in the current MOU, the NC Board of Transportation has 1/38. Option D increases that to like 1/10. That is like the biggest jump of any entity.
Let me ask a question. Does anyone have, like, what is does anyone have issues with the status quo, the way things are currently? Like, why are we even having this conversation?
So
What's the benefits to changing it?
I will, at the risk of sounding like I am not being faithful to the jurisdiction I represent, I am, and I have been since I worked at the MPO, uncomfortable with the idea of the city of Durham and Durham County being able to outvote everybody.
Yeah.
I didn't like that when I worked for the MPO, and I don't like it as Representative Durham. It takes away, though it's rare, very rarely been requested, it, I think, casts a bit of a pall over regional cooperation. I don't think one county should be able to overrule the others.
I think to that point, Aaron, when weighted voting is called for, it's a huge deal. I mean,
Yes.
it's a really big decision, and I agree with that.
I think it's only been called for twice in the last 25 years, so it doesn't happen often. We know the last time it was called. And it was Durham overruling the others, and so I like the idea of coming up with a method that keeps the city of Durham and Durham County from. And that's my position as a representative. I am not speaking for Durham County on this.
And there's just so that very issue was called out in the governance study. That's being something that we should take up and review the MOU. That's why we're having the conversation.
Okay.
But it does not prescribe what the outcome should be.
Yeah, that's why I find this Penrose method very interesting in that. Yeah, the city of Durham and Durham County would need somebody else to come along with them. At least one other entity to come along with them in order to. Or Carrboro or Chatham County, or you would, city of Durham and Durham County make up 40% of the weighted voting. So they would need Chapel Hill. They would need Chapel Hill.
There has to be some combination of voters.
There has to be some combination, either Chapel Hill or two of the others. Assuming 50% does not carry, you need 50 plus 1.
And the last way to vote, it was Durham City, Durham County, to triangle.
Correct.
And this proposal would not add up to being able to carry the vote.
Yeah.
Well, the only option that doesn't favor the city of Durham is option D, and I don't think the city should be diminished to 29% of the vote, given the amount of EPWP shares the city is paying. Like, given our representation on that front. Why should we be diminished down to 29?
In that case, I mean, the Board of Transportation shouldn't get any, they're not dues paying, right? Or are they? Yeah. If we're going off dues, then that changes it completely.
I think it factors in pretty heavily, don't you?
In some
Those are separate
senses.
issues.
I mean, it's the governor's representative on the MPO.
Could we reduce the NC board vote down back to some lesser percent and give it to the city for option D?
Well, I mean, if we reduce the population of the NC Board of Transportation, the math would work out that everybody else goes up, right? Because everybody else is gonna have a higher percentage of the population. So I don't know that I'd wanna just give it to the city of Durham, but all the numbers should go up a bit by reducing the NC Board of Transportation share.
Just out of curiosity, where do those numbers for the Board of Transportation and Go Triangle come from?
They're the numbers that the square roots of equal represents.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to reducing the NC transportation. I have a bit of a qualm of the, I have a bit of a qualm with the BOT having a greater vote than 3 of our 4 municipalities. Which is why I asked, hey, does
That was-
Scarborough or
that was-
Hillsborough or?
I'm-
I don't have anything to say about that.
I would, I mean, you know, speaking for Carver, I would, to me, D would probably be the preference, but I do have reservations about the Board of Transportation having a bigger, basically a bigger say on the board than our town. I'm sure Hillsborough would agree with that too. In Chatham County as well.
Can I throw something out there? And Julie, please tell me I'm wrong, or that you don't agree. If we reduce the NC Board of Transportation population to 9,000, so that it was below Hillsborough, or some number that probably gets them 4% instead of 5% or something like that. Then they still have a vote. They still have more vote than they have now. They have 1/38, which is like 2 point something percent. So it increases them from what they have now, but it makes them below all of our elected representation and dues paying members. Is that, what do people think about that? I'm spitballing here a bit and throwing out ideas.
I would be in favor of that.
Well, it has to be approved, so it doesn't sound like the city is hugely.
It doesn't have to be approved by everyone.
Well,
TC
that
works on a
does say
majority vote.
That the MOU needs to be, or you want it to be approved by all the entities, and I don't think that there's a way for us to update the MOU without the city approving it.
Well, the city council would have to approve.
Yeah.
It wouldn't.
I'm not talking about this group specifically.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
the governing bodies.
Yeah, and if the city of Durham objects to it at the board, then they can object to it at the board and approve what they want to approve, but we're making a technical recommendation. I think we should feel free to make the technical recommendation we want to make.
I think, you said about 9,000, that would make it about 5% of the Board of Transportation.
Well, then whatever that magic number is, that gets them at 4%. I'm not smart enough to figure that out, but.
All the way down to 4. It says 4. So I was seeing when I looked up, other ones, it was like, anywhere as low as 2.7 to 5 to 12.5.
Okay, so 4% would be above what the BOT currently has now. It would be above the 2.7% example, but it would be less than any of the elected representatives on our board. I think that might be a sticking point, is if I'm I don't know who Carborough's board representative, but if I'm an elected member of the Carborough Town Council, I could see not being thrilled at the idea that an unelected member appointed by the Board of Transportation has a greater vote than I do.
And our council member who is a member would agree with that. I would, if he were sitting here next to me, he would probably agree with that too.
I mean, given the spread of percentages proposed, even 4% likely would influence a vote if it were false. I mean, if you took, for example, Durham City, Durham County, and say Orange County, it's still at 50%-ish. We'll figure out on that. We still need another vote, and that could be, or a slew of smaller members with a vote that would still be enough to decide. Where now I don't know that there's a combination where the one vote out 38.
No.
So I don't really have a preferences in the number. I guess I'd like to hear what, Lisa Mathis has to say, so.
Okay.
I guess whatever y'all want to go forward with.
I mean,
It's not lower than what we had before.
No, it would be an increase of what you had currently.
I mean, does the city give you one to decide and vote in second?
I don't think that would be horrible.
Unfortunately, a state where every NPO board is chaired by.
Really? Yeah. That's interesting.
So if the number for the Board of Transportation goes down, where would those points be redistributed to? How would that shake out?
Well, I would think, if you, let's say we cut it down from 28,000 to 8,000, we just, I don't think we'd redistribute them, right? We would just have fewer population.
But that would impact the final
Yes.
number of percentages, so that's what I'm asking,
Yeah.
is where those weighted percentages would shake out.
You have a,
Working on a spreadsheet right now.
Of course you are, Ellen.
Because I think that's gonna change some of the smaller ones potentially, so the numbers will be distributed differently.
Yes, all the numbers should go up. All the other numbers should go up.
Well,
Not all of them will, because you
No.
don't have that many points.
because it's the square root is something, but
Yeah.
so flattens everything across.
And it's only like 5 percentage points, so that can't be spread across that many jurisdictions.
No, but I mean, it's just, are you mathing it out, Ellen? You're going Excel World Championship here.
Right, if NCDOT's down to 5%, then yeah, I mean, like, the city gets 1% more, Chapel gets 1% more. And a lot of this is just rounding. Chatham gets 1% more, it just matters who was closest to the thing. So,
Yeah, I wouldn't think anybody would go up by more than 1%.
yeah, it's a subtle change.
Have we, at this point, ruled out A, B, and C? Is everyone opposed to A, B, and C?
I mean, I'm not opposed to the status quo with how things are. And I think there may even be an option to slightly alter the status quo, I guess, to consider the concern, right? Durham City plus Durham County is 20 out of 38. So if we wanted to make us 19 together out of 38, one vote go somewhere else, like we still need to have somebody else with us. We can do a small variation, of the status quo.
What I like about the Penrose method is that there's some math tied behind it. It's not just kind of shuffling cards around.
Yeah, for what it's worth, Doug, sorry I'm late, but I've got some stuff to forward to you from our legal department. Most of it's just little nitpicky things that they just needed to look at and go in front of our board. None of it's major. It's all just like thinking through the federal statutory language is what the statute says and not paraphrasing and stuff on the original one. But it sounds like we've moved past that. So I'm going to forward that to you anyway.
I mean, all of that stuff was taken from campus, so.
I don't know enough.
I mean, y'all are welcome to make a recommendation for D. I can tell you if the city of Durham is not gonna be on board for that, but if y'all want to make the recommendation,
Well, I'll make, I mean,
and it's up to the TC, so.
You can leave it the way it is. You had to have at least 3 or something.
So where did we end up?
we're waiting on somebody to do math.
It sounds like we're leaning towards D, but I just stated that the city of Durham is not gonna be in favor of D. The Penrose method. It's up to y'all what y'all wanna do as a TC.
Go to 4%. Looking at city of Durham does go up to 31%, Chapel Hill 14%. Carver is 8, Hillsborough 5, Durham County is up 11. Orange County 40. No, there's an issue with my phone.
I mean, I would also say we don't have to recommend something today. We could continue discussions on this if we need more time.
I think there is some timeliness factor. No.
Is there? Is there a timeliness issue with moving it today?
We're not gonna make a federal recertification. And I think that they're probably aware that we can be something with the amount of progress. As much as we're gonna make before that happens. The intent was to implement it at July 1st. Since we don't have a May meeting, that would mean it would be recommended by this body and the board would decide. And I'd still be, it's just a provision we have to, the approval legislative body would have to approve it retroactive to July 1.
When does the board meet? The board meets in April, right? And then they don't meet again until June?
Right.
So I hear what Eric's saying about the city is not in favor of option D. I guess I look at it as we're a technical committee. We're supposed to provide technical advice to the board to make their decisions. This is not a technical item.
No.
This is a political item.
Mhm.
I'd be comfortable with saying, this one or this one, and then they need to work out the politics of it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, this seems like more of a board issue to work through than a technical committee issue. I know they want a recommendation from us, but if we can't come to a unanimous decision, then what good is a
Could we
split
recommend,
decision and recommendation going to do?
could we recommend the method for D, and say that without the numbers? And tell them what our conversation was?
I mean, we can,
Eric, this board is not unanimous.
yeah.
Yeah, we don't have to be unanimous.
It would be great for water.
Mhm.
That's always
I'm not sure, even changing the method to diminish the Board of Transportation. I'm not sure that's still gonna put it in favor for the city.
I mean, Eric, are you saying the city's not going, and you have several representatives, so I don't, I mean, are you saying your position is that you wouldn't support anything that doesn't give the city of Durham a majority of votes?
I wouldn't say we need a majority. I would just say like the D diminishes the city too much.
So,
Like, there's not a method listed that I would feel comfortable with personally. Not speaking from the city, but
Option A, and at the beginning, you know, I thought
yeah, I mean,
gonna mention option A, which is just keeping things the way it is, which is not, the city is not the majority on their own.
we would probably vote for option A in favor of that, yeah. But I don't, sounds like others aren't in favor of option A.
Durham County is fine with option A. At least I am.
you are, again, I don't think the city of Durham and Durham County should have a majority of the weighted votes. I've felt that way for 10 years.
What if we provide the TPO board options, like from this conversation? Option A could be, you know, modify the status quo a little bit, like Alan was suggesting. And option B would be to modify the Penrose method. Or option C would be to keep it as a status quo, just as is. So it sounds like those were the three potential top options.
What is the modification option for option A? Like where would this, that's the reduce the city of Durham by one vote and just like reallocate it to someone?
Yeah, that's what I said. I mean, you could look at the, I guess, population and see who.
If you reduce the city of Durham from 16 to 14, the city of Durham and Durham County would no longer have a majority.
Well, let's back up because it seems like there were a lot of people in favor of method D. So
Yes, yeah, I like that.
can I make a motion that we recommend the Penrose method with some indication that we're not giving the specific numbers, but that's the method we recommend?
You can make that motion. The city will probably still turn that down, but you can make the motion.
I'll second that.
Can we add like inclusion of some of the primary considerations that this group has brought up, like so that the board has that information so that they know what Durham's concerns are, they know what others' concerns are about Durham not having the majority, that they know what we've discussed here?
So it's primarily the dollars contributed and reducing the state board vote to 1% flow.
And I think the reason that some of us may not be as keen on option A, for the reason that Durham City and County could carry the vote.
Maybe you still present them, even if the motion carries right now, maybe you still present them with option A and option A as is and option A modified, just to see, let them have the ultimate power to decide.
I think we have a motion and a second.
I'm saying we can carry a motion still, but I think it would be good for them to have that knowledge of that discussion at TC.
I'm not gonna write a different memo.
Okay.
This is the memo they're getting.
All in favor?
Wait. So,
We have a motion and a second at this point. Okay, do you want to make a new motion, somebody?
No, what was the motion?
yeah,
What was the motion?
that's fine.
Seconded.
What does the motion include? So is the Penrose method without,
Without specific numbers and to share what the concerns were from this board with the numbers.
okay. Are we voting?
Okay, we need a motion to approve the Penrose method with modified numbers. Does that sound right?
I think it's modified numbers with an explanation of the discussion that's happened here.
The modified numbers are to reduce NCDOT.
Without numbers, just with that method and sharing what our concerns are with how the numbers came about.
So is NCDOT the same as shown?
We're not determining,
We're leaving that to the board.
can explain the context of that. The TC would make that call. That if we were to reduce it to 4%, we have that scenario.
Okay, looking for a motion. That motion.
There was a
You already made it.
Looking for a second?
I did.
Sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Aye.
Opposed.
Do you need a count?
I think we should do a roll call vote.
No, I've got the notes.
Okay.
Is it still passed, I think, maybe? I don't know. That. They have a majority?
There's the others.
Do you need us, the ayes, to raise their hand together?
Put your hand up high.
1, 2, 3,
Ayes.
4, 5, 6, 7. So it's 5 to 7.
And I'm gonna abstain. Because I'm happy with Go Triangle having anything here, so, yeah.
7 to 5, motion
I don't
passes.
think you can abstain.
Pick a
Like,
side.
that's. It's a vote
I don't wanna
anyway,
vote no, okay. I'm yes.
unless you have a conflict of interest.
So
Like you voted on,
there is 8 to
you
5.
made a bet on Poly Market, how this.
Sorry, we only made a motion about that particular part of the MOU. We probably need to make a separate motion to approve the rest of the MOU.
Sure.
Awaiting vote structure aside, I'm looking for a motion to approve the rest of the updates to the MOU.
So that's where most of our comments were. The two big ones were, do we still want the transit subcommittee? I think my interest was, the TC chair can appoint committees in the bylaws as it is now. It wouldn't give the extra voting seat on the TC necessarily. I think that would be the only big change, but otherwise we have the mechanism to already do that without having to enshrine it in the MOU. So I just want to make sure we're not a solution looking for a problem with that. The other one, there's some legal stuff that I'll forward to you, Doug. It's mostly just technical corrections. The one exception is down at the bottom of page 15. There's some boilerplate and I'm trying to find it and I haven't found it yet. Campo left it in when they adopted their stuff in 2014. It had to do with Triangle Transit and UPWP stuff. It was going to get stricken. We would ask that you leave it in. I don't know that it needs to be in here, but my assumption is the reason it's in here is if we needed to move 5307 money to a planning function, it has to go into the UPWP. And I'm guessing this language is here so that that can happen. We nearly needed to do that in Campo last year. We ended up finding local money for it. I just wouldn't want to take it out and then have us be in a bind if we needed to move money into the UPWP for a planning function, like our plus blueprint.
Sure. And that's in the comments you.
That'll be in the comments I forward, yes.
And if I have any questions about comments, I know who in your legal department to contact.
Well, it'll say, I think I'm going to send you the version that has the markup. Most of the legal comments are just boilerplate stuff. I don't think it's anything too substantive, but it would be Karen Porter and everything else is probably me and I will get it to the right place.
Great, thank you.
I have a question about the TC membership. Number 21 says the Transit Operators Subcommittee of the Technical Committee has one representative. And I'm kind of puzzled as to how that would work if the committee is a subcommittee of the TC. Like, wouldn't that be kind of double counting people? What? Okay.
And if that's removed, couldn't we just have the chair appoint a subcommittee and then we don't have to have it formally enshrined? I mean, we can still do the same work, but it would be sort of at the pleasure of the chair of the TC.
this is, I mean, putting it in this way is what the subcommittee recommended after that.
As a transit operator, it's like, the first time I saw it was in the initial draft MOU here at TC. Oh, what is it? I don't really mind it. I'm not against it. It's just one more meeting and I'm already in 3 MPOs and 3 transit plans. I know our management is worried about just having duplicative effort between that group and the existing staffing working groups. I think we're worried about staff time. That's the one thing I share with them. And they're also worried about transit being siloed out of other transportation decisions. If we're over there meeting by ourselves, I mean, maybe it's good because people don't have to listen to all to talk about, 53 whatever section money, which I know when I was on the highway side, I found really boring and not interesting. So I could understand people wanting us to meet over there, but I think it's good for us to, highway side to hear that stuff.
So Paul, as I said, the subcommittee met and talked about this, and this was what we came up with.
It's only gonna be once a quarter,
Yeah, we're talking about 1 quarter.
4 times a year.
4 times a year. And the original draft MOU had it being a separate committee. Now it's part of the TC, it's a subcommittee of the TC. So the intent is to have those conversations when you need to, but also be more integrated into the TC itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm like, at that point, Eric could just appoint a committee. That's in the bylaws.
Right.
We really want to enshrine it.
And you've been,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. The answer was yes before you got here.
Ad hoc subcommittees tend to die.
Only for the hours of discussion that have already gone into it.
Fair enough.
Okay.
I guess before you got here, Durham County asked about being a member, and I think the consensus of everyone else was that the TC could always add members, which again, to your point, it kind of makes it like it's a subcommittee, but it can change. I don't know. I agree with you in the sense that it's not going to operate that much different than just the TC chair appointed subcommittee in the end.
So you're looking for a motion to approve the rest of the MOU?
And I guess pending any changes that.
Any technical items that are pointed out in the corrections. It's not substantive.
When do you need those by?
Do you have other small things that you haven't done?
Like typos and just some minor things in the one.
Just when you get a chance to sign.
Okay.
Probably about a board meeting.
Yeah. I just want to be helpful to you. So
I always.
hopefully ahead of the board meeting. Okay.
And honestly, I haven't unmarked this version. So I've been making changes within the marked version and I haven't unmarked to see what the text looks like after that. So
Okay.
I'm sure there will be spaces and commas and spelling that is in there.
It's going to the board meeting in 2 weeks, right? So you need these probably by the end of the week to be able to incorporate it and put it in. Okay.
I'd like to, let's say Friday, that way any changes I can make sure get in the board pack.
Okay, so still looking for a motion to approve the rest of the MOU pending that something crazy that's added or modified.
Make a motion.
Motion by Sarah,
Second.
second by Aaron, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you.
And, this is a big deal and you guys should congratulate yourselves, even if there is an outstanding issue of getting to this point and moving forward. One of the provisions that's in this new draft is that we reconsider this every 4 years. So I think that that's a minimum. So I think that that's going to make sure that we stay on top of it and doesn't wait another 12 years to get updated. And I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for your work on this and all the staff's work on this. Appreciate it.
Well, the next time it's gonna be one of my staff.
That brings us to call for projects, funding recommendation, come on.
Alright, hello everyone. I'm West here to go over our recommendations for projects.
Bless you.
So first, we'll do a quick overview on the schedule and some background on our policy. And I'll then go over just summary of the funding in terms of how much is available and where the funding went. Following that, I will go through our requests that went into the call, as well as what we need. And then finally going over the next steps of this presentation. So first, the schedules. Earlier this year, guys staff submitted applications for our call at the beginning of the year, and we had them reviewed in the month of April. That recommendation that will be moving to the board to release public comment. Following the public comment period, it will come back in June for approval, for board approval, which is specified. Because after board approval, it starts the process of getting these part details to the STIP. So once our board approves it, it will be in its other agreement, that same month. Where they should be included into the STIP in August. And one thing to know is that municipal agreements cannot begin until projects in the STIP. And for transit projects, the best process also cannot begin until details are in the STIP. So a quick background on our federal funding policy. So all this is of our regional flexible funding program that just defines the data-driven process that we use to evaluate projects and make recommendations. This past year, we had a couple of updates to this policy. Some updates include incorporating guidelines on our use of fund swaps. These are the funds that we have accumulated over the years just through past August distributions, where it's going to be utilized for coming fiscal year, and give us an IOU and then utilize those funds. Additionally, there's some changes to further refine the project agreement that sponsors will agree to, and stating that the TPO program will complete the funding with the rest of projects. So the regional flexible funding program itself is used to distribute federal funds, use following federal funds, block grant, approval, appreciation alternatives, and CMAQ, condition mitigation and air quality funds. We're also using it to distribute our fund swaps in this round. And how it works is that new projects are scored on those criteria for possible 102 points. Existing projects are scored separately, just because we want to prioritize certification. And aside from either scoring, our funding policy has a clause where jurisdictions that have not received funding in past 4 years will receive bonus points. So that's why I'm going to be this round. Getting to the summary of funding, so here is available funding that went to this call. So we see we have pots from FY27 that have been dipped into from our last call, and starting with new allocations starting with FY28, and then the fund swaps can be used to go towards either year. Just noting the bottom here that we did program past available funding just to be able to keep projects constantly in the pipeline and just recommendations from the DOT and looking at what other deals that can go are doing. And so the overall was by up to 20%. Here is just two pie charts showing where the funding went to as far as the projects that were recommended. So that one shows just the jurisdictions that the funding went to. And the right shows the project types. I'm just showing that it's in line with our policy in terms of emphasizing improvements to bike compression projects and transit improvements. And also noting that we received several electric vehicle charging stations this year. Just noting that.
Is that TDM portion correct? It looked like they only got like $500,000. Did I read that wrong? But yeah.
Which is approximately 1%, we're around the 1%.
Oh, we're looking. Oh, I was reading the blue one is 30, sorry.
Getting to the project requests. So one question here, there's 19 project programs. So 7 agencies submitted 19 projects and requested a total of 97.9 million of just federal funds. We only had about 35.3 million, and so these went towards 14 recommended projects. Out of the 14, 8 of them were existing. I mean, they already have a CIP number and already existing instead, and already have some other funds to the project. And 6 of those 14 were new projects that we recommended first time, and ultimately 5 were not recommended as part of the process. Getting to what were recommended, so here are the existing projects that are recommended. I won't review, but rather just kind of point out some extra notes for these. First of all, 2 small typos here. The SICOM phase, construction phase, and then issue down here, the local match was not calculated within the total, so that'll be in future presentations, but chart just shows the federal funds and the total funds. It's a policy here, it's a local match, just to make the chart look bigger. Another thing to note, this call was for FY 27 and 28, though there is one project being programmed for FY 26. That's just the acquisition of right away from Durham Marshall Rail Trail, just due to those funds to be used and by the time that they need these funds for. So that's one section as far as timing. Other things to note is that out of the 3 projects, there were 2 that were not work funded, Carpenter Fletcher and Fort Road, both in the city of Durham. And although existing projects are a priority for our programming, those 2 were bypassed just because there were other projects by the city that the city declared were higher priority. And so those 2 were bypassed in order for those other projects to be completed. Additionally, the city also hit their agency cap as far as the most amount of funds that a single agency can receive from our RFI funds. That is what led the available transporter project to be partially funded with that amount.
Phil, just, and maybe you said this and I missed it, the federal and total here, this is the new funding they're getting or the total project funding they're getting?
Just new funding.
Just the new funding, okay.
I mean, that's a pretty big chunk. I didn't thought that was. Thank you for asking that clarifying question.
So is not, so something that you may want to just think about putting the total funding, like now, okay, you know, Fayetteville's going to get this 11.7 million. Now, what is that total amount they're getting for Fayetteville? That may just be a point of interest the board may want to see.
Total, or?
Yeah, I don't know.
We asked for 600,000 in federal and, 150 with the local match, so 750 total. In addition, just to get that project over the finish line and.
Right. Just to give the board members an idea of how much these things actually cost.
When we program them, they should include all known funding sources.
Right, this presentation is just focused on our call.
Okay.
And get on to the new project recommendations. So they won't be here are the ones that were recommended, and both these recommended were just ordered alphabetically by agency, not by school or any sort. But one thing we want to note here, if you saw their memo, that one project that should be on transportation for sports flicks did score lower than others. The others were bypassed because there was not enough funding to fully fund a phase. And so those were the last 2 projects. This EV project and 2 Chapel Hills projects for Wally Road and Morgan Creek Freeway. And with the amount that we had available, only EV projects would be fully funded. And so that's only discrepancy as far as what we against what was scored. And also noting that the paratransit fund, what you see partial funding.
Just to clarify, for the paratransit bomb facility, it says federal. I just want to make sure it'll be state.
Right, yes, so that's technicality, but it uses our fund swap funds.
Okay, the state fund swap funds.
Yes, those can be converted to trust funds.
Okay. And the agency says Durham County. Obviously, we submitted this, but the money we would want to go to the city because they're the ones actually building it. And that's.
Doesn't that go over their dollar project cap?
We're only at 53% according to that chart.
I mean, it's a shared facility. It's used for the merged city-county system. So I don't, again, like Durham County's a bit of a unique.
Why don't we
animal
talk
here.
about that when we get to programming? And you guys figure out how you want to handle it.
Because there's also the additional requirement of the project agreement that we are adding this year. And so that's another thing to think about. We'll go on that agreement as well.
Yeah, we need to discuss that more. Thank you, though.
So following this presentation, so it'll be presented to our board, they'll release for public comment throughout the month of June, and it'll come back here for recommendation to approve in June. Additional comments on the recommendation.
Yeah. I guess is it the over programming? Is that the reason why the Fayetteville Transit Corridor didn't get full funding and not partial funding?
There's a couple of reasons why. There's only one simple answer. But at the start of our call, when we set the agency caps, the fund amount then was at about 14 million. We had program 2 million shop house in its BRT, and that funding was spread across 3 or 4 years. And so we utilized some of the funding in later years just to supplement this pot funding for time being, but the agency caps and other caps were set at the beginning of the call based on the amounts then.
The 30 million roughly, I think it was.
Yes.
Okay. So what went up was the fund swap amount partially? Okay. So maybe for the board meeting, it might be worth modifying those charts to represent like the percentage of the initial amount.
Oh, sure.
Or I don't know how you do that, but.
I'm sure I gotta go 4 slides, but we'll make it happen.
Any other questions from the group?
Just for a motion to.
I have a question, sorry, about the DOT project at Cheek and Junction. Can someone speak a little bit more about that? It doesn't really seem to fit with really what our call for projects is about. It's like a mobility, like an RCI. I'm curious how it like fits into what we generally fund.
David, do you want to talk about the project?
Yeah, so it helps mobility, also helps safety, and not just of existing conditions, but there's development coming which would have wound up leaving things in a significantly worse condition if not addressed, and probably leaving out some important things. But
The private money.
What's that?
The private money that's incorporated in it
yeah.
that will go away if it's not used there.
Right, substantial private money that otherwise would be a missed opportunity. I don't remember what the dollar amount is, but it was substantial.
That point, which would allow swap funds to be used for the project, because there are other leverage funds that would be going away if we weren't able to do this.
Is there associated bike and ped infrastructure with the project?
We had discussed that, and can you help me remember why?
I think there was, the city of Durham was asked to provide funding for those, and the compromise was that the space will be reserved for it. The construction of the actual facilities, because they wouldn't connect to anything, would be deferred to a later point. I don't know if the information Philmon gave you guys describes the project. It's an intersection of two roads, but the intersection's offset and train tracks run through the middle of it. So it's not like just a traditional intersection with, you know, an RCI kind of bubble happening to the east of it. It's got this weird turning movement over train tracks and a pretty significant grade change that were, I think, why the city during its development review process wanted the situation addressed.
What exactly does space being reserved mean?
Right of way available.
Okay.
Because going back to the railroad and trying to negotiate that again, anytime in our lifetimes would probably not fly. So
Yeah.
if the department's willing to do that, that in and of itself is a pretty significant thing.
So the right of way will be there for future sidewalks, and it's just they're not going to be built. Was an estimate ever produced of what it would cost to add on the facilities? Because it's my understanding, we met about this a while ago with some of the NCDOT staff. The project cost much more than this, like it's being overmatched. Like this $3.5 million is not 80%, it's far less than that, right? So like you could have asked for more, basically, right? Of federal money to fund the sidewalks without any need for more local money. Do you know what I'm saying? So, like, I mean, it's good that this is like a first time, I guess, maybe safety project for the NPO, but it does strike me that sidewalks should be a part of the safety project.
I can go and check on those figures and more specifics on the sidewalk.
Are the project extents wholly in the city limits?
No, they're partially in both.
So you want the sidewalk
The county line runs like
in the
right
county?
through the middle.
You want the county's quadrant to definitely have the sidewalks?
So even if there's space reserved, the city or the county would come back and build these facilities later?
Yes.
Also just noting that I mentioned that cost is below. This request is just for engineering activities and right away. They mentioned they seek a request for construction later years to get to that point. So it's only partial.
Sorry, explain that again.
The request is only for engineering utilities and right away. It doesn't include a request for funds for construction. Because that will happen in a year outside of our call past FY20.
I think the presumption with that is that the department will leverage its own resources as well for construction.
Yeah, there are department funds as well. We're limited in what we can do, but putting in as much as we can. Relative to the cost of the sidewalk and at what point it might be built and how, I can revisit those details and get back to you.
I don't remember if that meeting had a cost. I think it was just there's not ability for the city to fund construction of anything now. but if there were everything's calculated, that might be helpful.
And then it might make sense to design it as like a separate phase potentially in the future, like a bed facilities. And then if, you know, we're able to build it, the right of it will be there and it'll already be designed, so.
Yeah, I'll check on that as well, as whether it's will be covered in the design.
That's a good point, Eric.
I need to say, it doesn't sit well with me that this project has very little to do with bike and pedestrian, and it's a state project. David, I'm looking at you, I'm not blaming you, I'm not like, it's your project. But, you know, this call for projects is really our only opportunity to get bike and ped funding for local projects. We fight tooth and nail to get it, and then the state, who has the rule that limits bike and ped funding, is using 3.5 almost million of our limited funding to do a roadway project. It doesn't sit well. I don't know if others feel the same way, or if there's even any recourse if it, you know, scored well enough to get the funding. Maybe there's nothing we can do, but it doesn't.
Well, this is for
icky.
this is releasing for public comment. So presumably feelings and opinions about it will be part of that, and I'm sure the board would take that into consideration before they approve it.
Okay.
I hear any other questions, looking for a motion just to ask the motion for comment.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed unanimously. Thank you.
Thanks for all your work, Philman.
Yeah, thank you. Leads us to last action item, environmental justice report methodologies mod.
Hello. This is like the 6th time you guys have seen this presentation. I'll be quick. Not a whole lot has changed. You want to start with the scoring map. This is a QR code. You can check it out. Part of this, when the board does adopt this plan, we're going to release the entire data package that has gone into this plan for you all to use. That's going to be 2 spreadsheets, one at the TAZ level, one at the block group level. That includes all of the performance measures, all of the background ACS data that's fed into this, as well as the full scoring methodology. So that we hope will be a pretty useful data set to do any sort of demographic analysis of your all's own, as well as comparing it to some of the performance measures and stuff that we can get out of the MTP model. Sorry, try to use the left to move forward. So methodology has not changed pretty significantly. There is a slight change to the map that you saw that you're going to see on the next slide, and the maps that are in the draft document from the last time you saw it. We did a little bit of data review. We realized that the disability metric, the data was off. It was including some non-disabled populations. So we've corrected that metric. Small overall change to the transportation disadvantage index. I think about 1%, but it has shifted some things on the margin. We've also added an additional jobs access for walking at 15 minutes performance measure that we were able to get off the model. Thank you, Jenna, for redoing that for me. This aligns with more of a standard walk shed that we use when we're considering bike and pedestrian projects. The original metric, which is still included, was a 30-minute commute shed, which is a bit longer than most people would be willing to walk to work. So we're going to include that 15-minute one as well. And I've also got a couple of housing and Vision Zero related metrics to share with you all. So this is the updated transportation disadvantage index. The purple show our high TDI TAZs. They're also outlined in black. It hasn't changed that much. We're seeing it from the last one. We saw some movement away from the central, like downtown Durham TAZs out to some of the outer Durham TAZs, as well as a couple of TAZs near the South Point region that also got flagged. You know, as the data got corrected, it kind of moved things around a little bit. but the bulk of it remained the same. We didn't see any TAZs that moved more than like a quartile, so if it was on kind of the battery, it might have flipped. Performance measures, these also didn't change that much. I think there was about 1 or 2% difference in a lot of these. So the high TDI areas do have consistently better walking and transit access than the entire TPO. That's due to them being more urban than the entire TPO, which is, I think, a pretty good thing. We should try and keep it that way. We also mapped some of our low-income housing tax credit properties in the TPO onto this index. There are 80 of these properties in the region. 50 of them are within high TDI TAZs. There's about 4,000 total units that are currently within these high TDI TAZs. And all of our qualified census tracts, if you're not familiar with how LIHTC works, it gets pretty complicated, but these qualified census tracts essentially have a scoring boost when it comes to project applications. And it's based off of median income and one other factor that I'm forgetting off the top of my head right now. But all of the qualified census tracts in our region contain at least one high TDI TAZs, and most of the one in Durham, most of the census tracts in Durham are fully within the high TDI region. This is something that we are going to want to track as we update this in the future, as development patterns are coming in. If we're seeing that these LIHTC properties are staying the same, but the TDI regions are moving around it, that could be a pretty strong indication that we're seeing displacement of some of these populations that are currently where they are, with this higher, better than average job or walking and transit access. Some additional, these are the commute shed numbers, so the percent, the number of jobs that are accessible via automobile, walking, and transit within 30 minutes. So if you're standing in one TAZ, it's going to tell you how many jobs you have access to within a 30-minute commute by those different modes. The walking and transit numbers are based on land use characteristics. The transit numbers are also based off of land use characteristics and the transit data that fit into the model. And we're seeing pretty robust growth from 2020 to 2055. That is not equally distributed across all of these high TDI regions. The ones that are in some of the more rural areas of Durham County in particular don't really see any change just due to the kind of lack of transit access that are in some of those regions. And we've also mapped our high injury network from the safety plan onto this data. So right now, about 12% of our high injury network segment line mileage is within the high TDI TAZs, and 35% of our high injury intersections are within these high TDI TAZs. You can count how many times I've said high TDI TAZs in the last 5 minutes. It's a 20, the high TDI TAZs are the top 25%. So in particular, that 35% of high injury intersections is something to pay attention to, and how that might change moving forward. Happy to take any questions on any of the changes we're making, performance measures. The ask is a recommendation that the board adopt the EJ report.
Any questions, comments, concerns? Looking for a motion.
So moved.
Becca,
Second.
second by Sarah, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Thanks. On to informational items. Triangle Transportation Choices Fiscal Year 25 Annual Impact Report. Jenna.
I'm going to do a quick overview of the FY25 annual impact report results for the Triangle Transportation Choices Program, which is funded in part by Triangle West. Okay, so for those of you who don't remember when I explained this last year or weren't here, Triangle Transportation Choices is our region's transportation demand management or TDM program. So it funds all different types of TDM initiatives across the region, and that includes things like marketing campaigns, digital outreach, in-person engagement, and other promotional events to encourage residents and students and workers in the region transportation. So most of the things that are discussed in this room focus on the supply side of transportation planning. This is a program that essentially seeks to reduce demand on the existing roadways. So during FY25, the total funding awarded for the program was $2.1 million from Triangle West, about $600,000. 20 different organizations received grants for their work. And the other two program funders are Capital Area MPO and also NCDOT's Integrated Mobility Division. And these are all the logos of the different grant recipients in the Triangle West region. I encourage you to click on the report that's linked in your agenda, because each organization, each partner created a one-page summary that details the work that they did over the year. So just briefly, we had about 479 events that were held across the region for between all 20 different organizations, and over 24,000 people were directly engaged, educated in ways to explore different alternatives to driving alone. And there's a lot of different data collection that goes into this program, and if you want to understand really the nuts and bolts of how we calculate the numbers that you'll see on the next slide, we do have both a fairly high-level description in an appendix in the report, or there's a full methodology document on our website that you can check out. But just kind of keeping it high level this time, we essentially take all the data we collect on different participation metrics throughout the year, and we kind of funnel that down to the estimated number of people who essentially changed or tried or increased their use of alternative modes compared to previously, because they were directly influenced or assisted by the program, services, events, etc. And essentially, to get from the data to the actual impacts, we use factors derived from surveys. So we have both an employee survey and a commute survey every 2 years. And student survey every 2 years. A little more about the student survey we just recently did, but we asked them lots of questions about what they did, if they changed, if the TDM program influenced their decisions in any way, and so we take those factors derived from the survey results to get to impacts. So for FY25, we had a total of 5 million vehicle trips avoided over the entire year. That converts to 3 million gallons of gas saved using vehicle fuel efficiency rates, the most recent. And on the right side of this table, there's kind of some fun ways to think about these numbers in a more real world way. So for the 3 million gallons of gas saved, it's about 352 tanker trucks full of gasoline. And then for the 74 million commute miles reduced, that's roughly 25,000 trips from San Francisco to New York City. And the program supported 25,500 alternative transportation users, and then that also converts to 54 million pounds of carbon dioxide released prevented. And just looking at the past 10 years and the progress of the program, where the 74 million VMT vehicle miles traveled reduced for FY25. We're still exceeding the target for the program, which is an estimated 25% reduction in an estimated 25% in annual growth in region-wide commute BMT. So I know it's a mouthful. So those numbers, and then we do now take this one step further to quantify the total monetary savings and benefits to society of the program for things like noise pollution reduction, reduction in traffic congestion, reduced vehicle crashes, health benefits of active transportation. And so the total for this fiscal year was 30 million. And if you remember, the program is about 2.1 million total in funding. And so it worked out to about a 14-to-1 benefit to cost ratio. And just quickly, we did a student travel survey of university students in the fall this year. We had almost 3,000 total responses. It's a pretty lengthy survey, so it's really awesome. We had NC State, UNC Chapel Hill, Wake Tech, and NCCU all participate. And there were lots of results to go through. We're going to post more information about this on our website so you can take a look. But really the biggest thing that is important to my presentation today is that 38% of the students who took the survey and completed it said that they tried or increased using alternative modes throughout the school year compared to the previous school year. And among that group, 66% said that TDM programs and services provided by their school influenced their choice. And lastly, I just wanted to give an update on FY26 funding for the program. So the total program budget is about 1.7 million, 622,000 provided by Triangle West. And the number of grantees in the Triangle West region, we have 7 of our traditional grantees and then also 5 of our community-based nonprofit grant recipients. And as of the end of Q2, about 40% of those have been invoiced and paid. So that's it as well. Any questions or anything?
I have kind of a random question for you.
Sure.
I may not know the answer to it. It's super impressive for reaching out many people, so congrats. Do you know of any regional data tracking return to work and office policies? Because it feels like anecdotally in this region, there's more return to the office happening now. Like it's on the, it feels like a steep incline based on what I'm being told. And I just wondered if you'd heard anything while you were out and about and how that counteracts some of what we're trying to accomplish.
So not necessarily, right? I guess as long as there's still some telework, then we're probably still ahead of where we were pre-COVID in terms of that. Is yeah, when we do the employee survey, again, which will either be this coming fall or the spring of next year, we'll definitely get to see like comparable results to the survey we did in 2023. See if that percentage has
that would be interesting.
Fluctuated quite a bit or not. But as far as like tracking of that, our surveys are really the only one that we can do for the program. But I think there's definitely some census data products that survey like households. There's also like the Triangle Travel Survey that or NC State, the Institute for Transportation Research and Education, or ITRI, conducts every 2 years. It's a pretty robust household survey. And I believe they're almost ready to publish their results for the 2024 version of that. I think they have that up on their website. If you look, just Google ITRI NCSU. So there's that one too. Those ones I can think of off the top of my head. I'm sure there's probably more, but yeah.
Thank you. Brings us to item 14, recent news, articles and updates. There's So links, browse at your viewing pleasure. Next meeting is not until June 2nd, so enjoy a month off, and with that, looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Curtis. Second by Becca, all in favor? See y'all in June. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, all right.